The mighty Aztec Empire, a civilization of millions, was toppled by fewer than 600 men. It sounds impossible, but it happened. This is not science fiction, it's our own history. The Aztecs ruled a vast empire in what is now Mexico, but their world unraveled in just 2 years. It began with omens, a comet blazing across the sky, temples burning and strange visions seen in mirrors. These were not random events to the Aztecs, they were warnings from the universe. Their world was cyclical, destined for destruction and rebirth, and they feared the end was near. Emperor Montezuma II, troubled by these signs, sought answers from priests and mystics. Prophecies spoke of the return of Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent from the east. Coinciding with the year, strange ships appeared on the horizon. When pale-skinned, bearded men arrived, riding unknown beasts, the Aztecs wondered, were these gods or destroyers? This question set off a chain of events that would shatter their world. The fall of the Aztecs was not just a military conquest, it was a collision of worlds, beliefs, and destinies. Fear, faith, and fate would write the final chapter of the Aztec Empire. To understand the end, we must see the beginning. The Aztecs, or Mexica, built a sophisticated empire in central Mexico. Their capital, Tenochtitlan, was a marvel, an island city on a lake, with canals for streets and causeways connecting it to the mainland. Pyramids and temples soared above bustling markets filled with gold, jade, and exotic foods. The city supported over 200,000 people, sustained by ingenious floating gardens called chinampas. Spanish soldiers compared Tenochtitlan to Venice but grander. Yet, beneath the beauty was a darker side. The Aztec religion demanded human sacrifice to keep the sun rising. Thousands, mostly prisoners of war, were sacrificed to top the pyramids. This practice bred fear and resentment among conquered peoples. For the Aztecs, Tenochtitlan was a city of dreams. For their neighbors, it was a symbol of terror. This deep-seated hatred would soon become a weapon for the strangers who had just arrived. The city's splendor and its brutality set the stage for its dramatic fall. The fate of Tenochtitlan would soon be decided by outsiders and old enemies alike. In 1519, the prophecies seemed to come true. Ships from across the ocean arrived, massive, with billowing sails. On board were Spaniards led by Hernán Cortés, driven by a thirst for gold, glory, and God. They brought steel armor, crossbows, and guns, technologies unknown in the Americas. Cortés, ambitious and cunning, led his expedition in defiance of his own governor. The Spanish arrival stunned the native people. Their pale skin, beards, and horses made them seem supernatural. Horses, never before seen in the Americas, terrified and awed the Aztecs. Cortés exploited this, staging displays of military power, cannons roaring, cavalry charging. To the Aztecs, these were not just men but possibly gods foretold in prophecy. Cortés understood the power of perception and used it to intimidate and manipulate. The clash was not just between peoples but between technological ages. The Spanish were few, but their weapons and tactics were unlike anything the Aztecs had faced. The stage was set for a confrontation that would change history. The Aztecs' world was about to be upended by these strangers from another world. Cortés landed with about 500 soldiers, 13 horses, and a handful of cannons, against an empire of millions. The Aztec army could field hundreds of thousands of warriors. On paper, the Spanish should have been crushed. But Cortés was a visionary. He saw the cracks in the Aztec Empire, resentment among the conquered. He knew he couldn't win by force alone, so he made a bold move. He scuttled his ships, leaving no path to retreat. His men had no choice but to push forward or die trying. They were driven by greed for gold and religious zeal, convinced they were on a holy mission. This mix of desperation and conviction made them dangerous. The Spanish were not just conquerors, they were invaders with nothing to lose. Cortés's gamble focused his men and forced them into a do-or-die campaign. The conquest would not be won by numbers but by cunning, alliances, and ruthless determination. The odds were astronomical, but the Spanish were relentless. The fate of the Aztec Empire would be decided by more than just the battlefield. The real war was for hearts, minds, and survival. Cortés's greatest weapon was not steel, but strategy. He saw that the Aztec Empire was a patchwork of conquered peoples, many of whom hated their rulers. Heavy tribute and forced sacrifices fueled resentment and fear. Cortés presented himself as a liberator, not a conqueror, and listened to the grievances of the oppressed. His most crucial alliance was with the Tlaxcalans, fierce warriors who had resisted Aztec domination for decades. After initial battles, the Tlaxcalans joined Cortés, swelling his ranks with thousands of native allies. Suddenly the Spanish force was no longer just a few hundred men, it was an army. The conquest became a civil war, with native peoples rising against the Aztecs, the Spanish as their catalyst. A key figure was Malintzin, or La Malinche, a brilliant interpreter and advisor who bridged the worlds. She helped Cortés navigate the complex political landscape and forge alliances. Without her, Cortés might never have succeeded. The fall of the Aztecs was as much about internal divisions as foreign invasion. The enemy of my enemy became the key to the empire's downfall. Emperor Montezuma II, powerful yet superstitious, was paralyzed by the arrival of Cortés. Unsure if the Spaniards were gods or men, he sent lavish gifts hoping to appease them. The gold only fueled Spanish ambition. Montezuma's hesitation gave Cortés time to build alliances and march to Tenochtitlan. In November 1519, Cortés entered the city as an honored guest, not an enemy. Montezuma welcomed him, perhaps out of fear, faith, or confusion. Historians still debate his motives. Once inside, Cortés seized Montezuma, ruling the empire through its captive emperor. Montezuma, under house arrest, ordered his people to cooperate, providing gold and supplies. For months, a fragile peace held, a few hundred Spaniards controlling a city of hundreds of thousands. The fate of the empire hung by a thread, with its leader a prisoner in his own palace. The uneasy peace shattered when Cortés left to face a rival Spanish force, leaving Pedro de Alvarado in charge. Alvarado, fearing an uprising, massacred thousands during a religious festival, igniting rebellion. The Aztecs besieged the Spaniards, and Montezuma was killed. By the Spanish or his own people, no one knows for sure. The Spaniards attempted a desperate escape on June 30, 1520. La Noche Triste, the Night of Sorrows. Attacked on the causeways, many drowned, weighed down by stolen gold. Cortés lost over half his men. It seemed the conquest was over. But the Spanish left behind a deadlier weapon, smallpox. The disease, new to the Americas, swept through Tenochtitlan, killing up to 40% of the population in months. The Aztec army and leadership were devastated by the plague. While Cortés rebuilt his alliances, smallpox did his work for him. The city was weakened, its people dying not just from war, but from an invisible enemy. The balance of power shifted irreversibly. The final act of the conquest was about to begin. After the Night of Sorrows, Cortés regrouped in Tlaxcala, driven by revenge and ambition. He built a fleet of brigantines, warships assembled and carried over mountains to Lake Texcoco. In spring 1521, Cortés launched his assault, blockading Tenochtitlan and cutting off supplies. With over 100,000 native allies, the siege began, one of history's most brutal. The Aztecs, led by young Emperor Cuauhtémoc, fought bravely despite starvation and disease. For nearly 3 months the city was a battlefield, street by street, house by house. Spanish cannons battered buildings. Aztec warriors fought for every inch. The canals ran red with blood. The city of dreams became a nightmare. Superior weaponry, overwhelming numbers, and disease doomed the defenders. On August 13, 1521, Tenochtitlan fell. Cuauhtémoc was captured, and resistance collapsed. The once magnificent city was in ruins, its people defeated. The Aztec Empire, after a century of glory, was gone forever. The conquest was complete. The fall of Tenochtitlan reshaped the world. On its ruins, the Spanish built Mexico City, the heart of a vast colonial empire. Gold and silver from Mexico fueled Spain's rise and changed Europe's economy. The conquest opened the Americas to centuries of colonization, transforming continents and cultures. For native peoples, the consequences were catastrophic. Disease and conquest led to a population collapse of up to 90%. Ancient cultures were suppressed, temples destroyed, and a way of life dismantled. Yet the spirit of the Aztecs survived, blending with Spanish culture to create modern Mexico. The story of the Aztecs is one of bravery, cruelty, cunning, and survival. It shows how small groups can topple giants by exploiting divisions. The fall of the Aztecs is a cautionary tale about the fragility of civilizations. Its echoes still shape identity, politics, and culture today. By studying these moments, we learn about ourselves and the patterns of history. The past is a map for the future. Let's keep exploring the incredible story of us.